I'm going to take you through every little bit of gear that I use as a real estate photographer, including video and drone. And then at the end of that, I'm going to show you what you can do to get started with using a fraction of the cost. G'day superstars. I've been a real estate photographer for over 10 years now, and I've accumulated a lot of gear over time. Obviously I upgrade and sell, but this is the gear I'm currently using right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the gear I use in sections. So I'll cover real estate photography and floor plans in one section, videography in another section, and then obviously the last section will be drone photography and video. Okay, let's start with photo and floor plan. I have two of these cameras. This is an EOS R. It's a couple of years old now. Obviously you can buy R5s and R6s and all that kind of stuff, but this camera is about 2.5, 3 years old and doesn't miss a beat. And I have two of them. One of them is on the camera as we talk right now. The lens I'm using on this particular one for photos is 15 to 30. Obviously you need a wider angle lens. I did use a 17 to 40 lens for many years, but after a while you just get sick of being squished into a corner because it's not quite wide enough. You can definitely do the job with a 17mm lens, but the lower the number, obviously, the wider the lens. So you want to go with maybe a 16mm, I think would be the minimum. Memory cards in these are 128GB high-speed memory cards. They pretty much last me the whole week, and then I just erase everything at the end of the week once I've transferred it across and backed it up. What you'll also need is a flash. Now, obviously when I started, we used to do photography a different way. We used to have lots and lots of flashes and lots of stands and push light everywhere, but you pretty much only need one flash for real estate photography nowadays. And this is the YN560-3 by Yongnuo. The reason I don't recommend Canon flashes is that when I started 10 years ago, I bought 8 of these flashes because these flashes then were about $90 each, and a Canon flash was about $400. These got built-in Wi-Fi that do everything you need to do. You can have them off camera, you can have them on camera, they're brilliant. So I bought these and I thought I'll hold on to these and I'll use these until they die, and then I'll replace one every time they die. I'll replace it with a Canon flash. 10 years has gone by and I'm still using the same 8 flashes. I've got like 3 or 4 left, a couple of them have died. I've dropped a couple and broke a few, but I'm still using the same flashes. So I don't recommend using a Canon or a Nikon flash. I recommend using one of these. Now another lens you'll need for photography is a 50mm lens, a nifty 50 as they call them. This is a cheap item. This is just a cheap 50mm lens, but every now and then an estate agent will ask you to do close-up stylized shots of things, and these go down to 1.8 f-stop, so they're really good in low light, really good for that bokeh or depth of field. You get some really great shots with them, and people think you're a superstar just because your lens does all the work for you. You'll of course need a lens hood for your main lens, spare batteries of course. Also make sure you've got plenty of rechargeable batteries. These are Eneloop rechargeable batteries. I think they're about 15 bucks for 4. They last forever, and you can recharge them and recharge them and charge them. They give you the same amount of power as a Duracell battery, but you can recharge them. And you'll need those for your flashes because your flash takes 4. And you also need AAA ones for your measuring device, or AA depending on which measuring device you use. This measuring device here is just a Bosch measuring device. It's a laser measurer, so if you press the button like that, you can, as you can see, it creates a measurement. So you press the button and then let go, and it tells you how far away that particular item is. Very helpful, obviously, for floor plans. What I also use for floor plans is graph paper and erasable pen. Now, a lot of people right now are using a Cubicasa app, and that's a good app. It's a fantastic app to use. But when you use that app, you have to pay about $30 Australian, it works out to be, to get a full plan. You get the plan with all the appliances and all the stuff in it, all the windows, doors, everything. If you just use the free plan, you don't get all the details you need. I would use it, but the issue you'll have is every estate agent has a different style floor plan, has a different look and feel, different colors, different font, different everything. Cubicasa can't cater to all those fonts and different styles, which means you have to get it redrawn by somebody else. There's no point paying $30 for a plan that you can get it redrawn by somebody else as well, an extra charge. My plans are drawn up in any style I want for $15 a plan. So the paper is basically free, pens are cheap, and it cost me $15 to do a floor plan. And of course, you're going to need a tripod. This tripod is a Manfrotto tripod, it's carbon fiber, and you're going to need a tripod that is quite lightweight but sturdy, and it needs to go about this much higher than your head. And on top here I have a ball grip, so I can just let go of it and it's locked in place no matter which way I put it. So when you're on uneven ground, you can just line up your verticals, let go, and it's locked and you can take your photo. And all this gear will be listed in the description below, so don't worry if I miss anything. If I say something and don't tell you what model it is, it'll be in the description below. All right, let's move on to video. Now with video, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but we'll get through it pretty quickly. You're gonna need that camera, EOS R, which is what I'm using here, with a 17 to 40mm lens. 17mm will be wide enough for what you need. The reason is because you're moving, you can move through rooms, you can get multiple angles. You don't need to get everything in one shot like you do with photos. So you can get away beautifully with a 17 lens. 17 to 40 this one is, and it's a fantastic lens and it does really well for me. You will of course need a lens hood and extra batteries. And you'll also need a nifty 50 lens, a 50mm lens as well. This is great for those close-up video shots you're going to need in your property videos that you'll do. Now you're also going to need an all-rounder lens. You're going to need, this is a 24 to 105. It's not quite as wide. You can't use it as your video for wide-angle property stuff, but you'll need it when you come to do with different video things, different requirements that people might have when it comes to corporate video and things like that. It's also great if you need a scenery shot. A wide-angle lens is too wide. 50mm in, you can't zoom it. So this one, you zoom into what you want when you're getting a scenery shot with your property videos. If you're going to move into corporate videos, you will need a tripod. Now this one's a bit more sturdy, and it has a fluid head on it. It's much more easy to move around. As you can see, it's much smoother. But if you want to save money, you could take the head off each tripod and just have one tripod if you needed to. This next thing is what I use for all my property videos. It is the Ronin S. It's made by DJI. It is a 3-axis gimbal. Your camera goes on here. No matter how you move, it stays stable. I've put an extra arm on this as well. This is an aftermarket arm that I bought early on because I found just by using it one-handed, it was too shaky, it wasn't smooth enough. By putting 2 points of contact on the camera, you can be much smoother when you move around. I thought when I first bought this, these 2 points might get in the way, but you can quite easily work around it without having any problems at all. Let's get that out of the way because it's blocking my beautiful face. Now for audio, I use the Wireless Go 2 system, which is this one here. So there's that mic, another mic, and a receiver. This receiver right now is recording what I'm saying. As you can see, it's moving up and down. The reason that's not on the camera is because I wanted to show you what it looked like. But that usually would go on top of the camera, and then you can put a feed from that device into your camera, and you can record audio directly to your video without having to sync it up later. And while we're still talking about video, you might need one of these. This is a teleprompter. It goes over the top of your lens. You put your phone here. You put your script of what you want to say here. It gets reflected on the glass, so that goes over the lens. So people can read the words coming up on the screen, but the camera can't see it from the other side. Obviously, I'm not using that now because it's right there. I don't use it for my videos anyway because I like to just talk off the cuff, but very handy for estate agents who have scripted things they want to say to camera. It can be very useful. All right, let's talk about drones. I have a DJI Mavic 2 Pro drone, which is this scary looking beast here. This drone has reflective tape on it and different propellers that came from the factory. The reason I have all those things on this drone is because I frequently get attacked by birds, and this reflector tape and these propellers have proven to actually keep birds away from my drone, which is wonderful because I use this all the time for property videos as well as taking photos of land from above. The good thing about these props is they're made by a company called Master Air Screw. These ones are called stealth props, and what they do is they're not quieter, maybe a little bit quieter, but they're a different sound. So as you can see from the experiment I've done in another video, the sound from a normal prop versus the sound for the Master Air Screw props is very, very different. Now, depending on the controller you have, this is my controller here, it uses a phone. I use my old phone. So when I upgraded my phone to a new one, I took my old phone and put a prepaid SIM card in it, and that's what I use for my drone every day. That stays in the drone bag all the time. But if you have a controller that has a built-in screen, you're obviously better off than using something like this. But you will need at least 3 batteries for this thing. So there's 2 and one's in the drone. That's 3. You need 3 batteries per drone, no matter what you do. The next drone I'm going to talk about is this drone. This is the DJI Avata. This is an FPV drone. It does about 100 k's an hour, so it's not a super fast drone when it comes to FPV, but it's much faster than the DJI drone. I'm just starting on using this one, so there'll be more videos following up on this one, but that's what I use. I have the fast controller for it, 2 extra batteries, and I'm using the Integra goggles for this particular drone, which I love. Now that we've covered all the stuff I use, let's talk about what we can do as a beginner to get you started in this without having to spend all this money. Now keep in mind, I didn't buy all this stuff and then just become a real estate photographer. I started with 1 camera, 1 lens, 1 flash, and then obviously multiple flashes, 1 light stand, multiple light stands, then I've got another lens, then I've got another camera, then I've got another lens for that. Then I've got the DJI Osmo to do videos because that came out, and I've got the Ronin, which is now what I use, Ronin S. So you just progress as time goes on. You use your job to pay for your gear, but you have to keep upgrading your gear. You can't just buy stuff and keep it forever. Every 2 or 3 years, you've got to swing into a new model of something, because there'll be something in that model, maybe the image quality is better, the video is better, that real estate agents will pick up on and they'll want. And if you can't do it, they'll find someone who can. So these are the things you'll need to start off. You'll need a camera that is full frame camera. Do not buy a crop sensor camera for this. Although you can do this job, the sensor just isn't good enough for it. So buy a full frame camera and then buy the cheapest, widest lens you can. If you can get a 16mm lens, that's plenty wide enough, and you can get it as cheap as you can, buy that lens. That will get you into the industry. You can get away with just the wide angle lens. You can, if someone says they want a close up of something, you can bring it all the way out and then get all the way in with it, and you'll still get pretty decent results with that lens if that's all you've got. Buy the Yongnuo flash because it's cheap anyway. I think they're like still $100, $110. Buy one of them. The measurer for floor plans is only about $60 from your local hardware. Buy one of those. You can buy the cheapest tripod you can that goes as high as you can get it. But don't get something that's really lightweight, because if you have a flip out screen on your camera and the wind catches it, it will blow over and your camera will hit the deck, and then you have nothing. And as far as ball head goes, there is many on the market you can buy, but get a decent ball head for your camera as well. Something that's not going to be in your way when you're using it. Now for video, with phones now, they have wide angle lenses on them. You literally can get a DJI Osmo Mobile now, which is basically a little 3-axis gimbal that you put your phone on, and you can film your real estate videos with that. It doesn't look as professional as turning up with big gear, but you definitely can do that as a job. And as far as microphone goes, you can get a Rode shotgun mic that sits on top of your camera. If you're outside and you're pretty close to your subject, it gives great audio. But you're still going to need a lav mic if you're inside. So instead of getting something like this, you can get a H1 recorder, which is by Zoom, and you can buy a Rode lav mic that has an adaptable plug that can plug into your phone and or into a camera, because it's an adaptable plug, and that's about $60 or $70. Until I bought this wireless Go system, I used that for like 8 years. Every time a H1 recorder died, after 3 or 4 years, I just bought a new one. Exactly the same thing. And the mics I've used for the same mics for 5 or 6 years, until recently one of the heads popped off one of them. And as far as a video tripod goes, you don't need it. You don't need it yet. You can literally do it all with a Pocket Mobile, or you can use your normal photography tripod if they're just standing still. Now let's talk about drones. Stick to a DJI. They make the best drones out there. I recommend going the Mavic 3 Pro, but if that's a bit expensive because it's 3,000 Australian or something, there are other models like this one on the screen right now, which will literally do exactly the same thing as the drone I do. It's just not as good in high winds, so you've got to be careful with it on windy days. So it makes it a bit harder, but it will still do the job just fine as is. And when it comes to FPV, well, this drone was pretty cheap anyway, but don't do FPV yet. Just get into real estate, do the other stuff, learn the FPV over time, use real estate to buy your gear, and if you do that, you'll go far. But before you buy all this gear and spend all this money, watch this video first, because I explain 24 things you should know before you get into real estate photography that I wish I'd known. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.